Greetings, each and everyone. Welcome to the world of online learning. Let me also welcome you to the another chapter of our lesson for today. This is Noreeze Angela Soleta speaking, your teacher for the day. Intended learning outcomes. At the end of the discussion, you should be able to discuss the competencies expected of school heads as contained in the competency frameworks for Philippines and for Southeast Asia.
Good morning, everyone. So today, before we proceed to our topic, let us first familiarize ourselves with the words competencies, school head, and roles. School heads is a staff member of the school who has great responsibility when it comes to managing the school. Competency, the possession of sufficient knowledge and skill of a certain person or individual, while roles talk about the socially expected behavior of a certain person based and or determined by her status in a certain society. So why are we talking about competencies, roles, and school heads? We're talking about it since our topic for today is about Chapter 12, the school head's roles and competencies. We can identify the roles and competencies of a school head in terms of a framework and the national competency-based standards for school head. Before that, let me tell you about the definition of the school head according to 1, Section 5 of Republic Act number 9155 or the so-called Governance of Basic Education Act of 2001. So a school head is both an instructional leader and an administrative leader. So when we talk about administrative leader, the school head is responsible for the physical, improvement of the school and the stakeholders involved. While as an instructional leader, the school head focuses on the improvement of instruction or teaching. So later on, these two, being the administrative leader and the instructional leader, will be tackled as we go along the lesson. So now, according to DepEd Order number 32 series of 2010, or what we call the National Adaptation and Implementation of the National Competency-Based Standards for School Heads, there are 7 domains which identifies the roles and competencies of a school head. But first, let us go along with the core principle of these 7 domains. So the core principle is that school heads are competent, committed, and accountable in providing access to quality and relevant education for all through transformational leadership and the high degree of professionalism. Meaning, the school head doesn't just stand as a school head, but also she has different competencies. She is fair, she is reliable, resourceful, responsible, and on top of that, she is professional. So let us now move on to the domain 1 of the National Competency-Based Standards for School Heads. Domain 1 talks about school leadership. In school leadership, the school head has to develop the VMGOs, or the vision, mission, goals, and objectives of the school. She also has to have some database strategic plans, the managing change. So basically, school leadership doesn't talk always about leading the teachers, but also leading the students and the community or the parents and the other people involved in the school. So now, the domain 2. As I mentioned earlier, the school head is an administrative and an instructional leader. So the domain 2 now talks about instructional leadership. In this domain, the school head is expected to coach and manage the teaching force, to have some observation while the teacher is teaching her students, in order for her to know how competent and how substantial the topic is for the teacher, and whether the student learns something from the teacher. Domain 3 now is creating a student-centered learning climate, or creating a student-learner-centered environment. In this domain, it is not only the teachers who gives input to the students, but also the students learns how to discover knowledge, ideas in a certain topic from themselves by the guidance or by the facilitating of the teacher. Domain 4. Domain 4 now talks about human resource management and professional development. Meaning, as a school head, you should be the first one to identify or to classify or to recognize and to know more about the teachers and the other staffs regarding the school. Professional development, since you're a professional, you should have to treat your staffs and members in the school and the teachers properly, and without minding their differences, but treating them equally. In this domain also, the school head is expected to create a professional learning environment. Now, let us now go on to domain 5. But before that, let me add something to domain 4. The school head is responsible for the recruiting and the hiring of the teachers. That's why I mentioned that she has to really know what something about the teachers, so that we will have rather a good camaraderie and relationship throughout their work and maybe outside. Domain 5 now talks about the parent involvement and community partnership. Well, yes, of course, a school wouldn't be as successful, as well as the school head wouldn't be, if it doesn't occur to have the parent and the community partnership. So why do we have the community and the parents partnership here? We have that because there are some instances that for example, the BOD, Board of Directors, are created in such school. Um, an example of that is in Bagbang Elementary School. The teachers and the parents has that association in order for them to know the concerns, suggestions, and recommendations of the parents and also the teachers. That will help the student learn more, or that will benefit the student and the school as well. Also, the community partnership. Since it talks about school and the school head is the head of it, then the school head shall allow different agencies that will offer scholarship. For example, there are programs in the school, and the barangay captain, mayor, governor, and so on and so forth are invited. So that is their opportunity to tell the general public whether they're offering scholarship and everything or anything that could benefit the school head, the teachers, the students, and the parents. Now let us go on to Domain 6, the school management and operations. In this domain, we talk about the fiscal management. So there are instances that the school has different activities and or different tools, equipment that are used in teaching. So the school head manages that in the sense that she really go on to the budgeting or the allocation of the money is not doesn't just go to her, but it goes to the school and the students as well. The donations goes to the improvement of the school and to the improvement of the instruction. And lastly, our domain 7 talks about personal and professional attributes and interpersonal effectiveness. So as I've said earlier, a school head is competent. So in order for her to become competent, she shall have professionalism, not just only because she passed a certain exam like the licensure examination for teachers, but also she has some professionalism towards the students, the school, and the teachers. Also, the personal. She has to be very objective and not subjective to the people around her or him. And then, interpersonal effectiveness. The school head must be sensitive, firm, and fair and honest. So now, let us talk about the competency framework for Southeast Asian school heads of the time. The first domain of competency framework for Southeast Asian school heads is strategic thinking and innovation. Under this is the charting of the strategic direction of the school, managing or making informed decisions to change and innovation. The second one is the instructional leadership. So, as you can notice, instructional leadership is also on the domain of the National Competency-Based Standards for School Heads. And it is also in the domain 2. So, as I mentioned about, as an instructional leader, in instructional leadership, the school heads is responsible for the improvement of the instruction. The next one is personal excellence. So personal excellence talks about the managing of the responsibilities and the other advancement of the technology and others that could help the school head in her venture. So a school head shouldn't be only competent and only professional, but also she has to go with the flow of modernization and technological advances. The next one is the stakeholders engagement. So we also have that one in our national competency-based standards for school heads. So as a school head, you have to be very in good terms of the stakeholders such as the community, the parents, the school as well, and the other members of the school. You have to promote shared responsibilities, manage education alliances, and also sustain collaborative relationship towards others. And then, for the last domain or the fifth domain of our competency framework for Southeast Asian school heads is that managerial leadership. So, managerial leadership also connects with domain 4 or the human resources, management and professional leadership. The school head shall manage the professionalism and the credibilities of the teachers and the members or the teaching force. She has to manage their performances, their school resources, and the budget as well, the systems of the school, and also the strategies or sustainable school programs of the school and the projects as well. So, how do she manage it? Of course, there are meetings and or programs that could allow her to tell the general public how the budget goes or how the donation where the donations went and how how big the improvement it gave the school and the form of instruction and the learning of the students. So now let us move on to the school head and the community, the relationship between the school head and the community. So I have here some of the domains or some of the uh, reasons and or evidences that shows the relationship between the school head and the community. So the involvement of internal and external stakeholders. So the involvement of the teachers, the students, the parents, and the community is observed here. Status and feedbacks to the progress and completion of implemented projects and or programs. So, as I mentioned earlier, there are meetings such as assembly meetings and wherein the school head takes the opportunity to tell the parents and also the general public how or where the donations and such solicitations went that could be evidently seen to the improvement of the school, the form of instruction, and also to the students. The next one is the recognition of high-performing students and active parents. So, usually we have this recognition or the graduation wherein the students are recognized by giving them awards, like for example, best in math, and anything best in different subjects or active, tidy, punctual, like that. And for the active parents, there are those awards like cooperative parent. It is to recognize and to give thanks to the support and to the willingness of the, the parents to the involvement of the different activities and affairs in the school. The next one I included here, the stakeholders' concerns, and here's the stakeholders' concerns and responses with appropriately with consideration. So an example of that is the assembly meeting as well, wherein the school head hears the suggestions and recommendations of the parents and the community for the good and for the betterment of the students and the teachers as well. So now let us go on to the school head and the community evidences when it comes to the competency framework for Southeast Asian school heads. So the first one is promoting shared responsibility for school improvement. So as I said earlier, the assembly meetings and the different meetings allows the school head, the community, and the parents to talk about the projects and or programs they wanted to implement in order to develop the school, the learning of the student, and everything that goes around the school. So the next one is managing education alliances and networks. So I think one good example of this is that the connection of the school head to the division office, to the Department of Education, and to the different NGOs that could help them give scholarships and or free education to students. The last one is sustaining collaborative relationship with stakeholders rather. So I think it is related to the first one. The school head must must collaborate together with the parents and the community in order to develop good programs and or implement beneficial programs for the good of the students, the school, and the teachers. Let me tell you the generalization of the competencies and roles of the school heads as an administrative and instructional leader. So, as an instructional leader, the school head supervises the performance of the teacher by the means of observing them. She also conducts conferences and or meetings for the teacher to talk about what techniques they use for their improvement of teaching. So conferences and meetings. And also, the stakeholders ensure that the teacher has the important things to use in terms of teaching, and that they ensures that the teachers need the needed resources in terms of teaching. Now, the school head as an administrative leader focuses on the improvement of the school. School's improvement. So, the school's improvement in terms of its physical environment. So, to generalize all, the National Competency-Based Standards for School Heads and the Competency Framework for Southeast Asian School Heads allows us to know how to be an effective school head, the skills and attributes that are needed by school heads, to effectiveness and to carry out their roles that could lead to the school's excellence, success, and improvement. So that would be all for our lesson for today, and I hope you learned something. See you next meeting!